And we welcome you back to our VSiN studios. And we go back in time. Jimmy Figueroa, I first met him here at Vinny, and I was working with my buddy Jimmy the Greek, and I met a real odds maker. And Jimmy, you know, we talked about those great days of the NFL today. We had Irv Cross, who had played at Northwestern, Phyllis George, of course, she'd been a Miss America, and Jimmy the Greek.
Wow, it's been a lot of years, my friend. Been 25 years since we first clashed together in Mirage. And quick story about Brent. We were having lunch, and one of the big-time basketball betting guys came in and had lunch with us, and he was telling me how he got his 5 bets in today for $30,000. And Brent leaned over and says, "Jimmy, did you get $30,000 a game or $30,000 for his life?" He says, "Brent, that's his average bet, $30,000 a game." Mr. Musburger shook his head, and we've been friends ever since.
Exactly. I bet $200 a game. And he had a good day. He had a good day, Vinny.
Not too bad. And of course, Brent, you know, this is our venture together on set. But you've been with Jimmy and I and Chris for a long time, because every game that you called, we booked. So it's been a longer partnership than that started way before today.
Guys, a special treat. Irv Cross is now joining us on telephone from his home up in the Twin Cities area. And Irv, oh my goodness, we could tell one anecdote after another about our days with Jimmy the Greek, couldn't we, my friend?
Hey, Brent, how are you?
Excellent, lad.
Good to hear your voice again.
So good to wish you a Happy New Year, Irv. I know you've had a little trouble with the knees, and I want to tell everybody that when I first meet Irv, he's playing at Northwestern. He's playing for Era Parsegan, and back in those days, Vinny, you had to play both ways. Irv was not only a terrific defensive back, which he later played in the NFL, but Irv, as I recall, you were a pretty good receiver for Era, and I'm looking at a picture of you. We're doing the NFL today, the Bears and the Eagles before the fog came in. You look pretty good in that Eagle cap, buddy.
Yeah, we couldn't see anything that day, but it was a lot of fun to do the broadcast.
It was
really
great.
good to hear your voice again, too, though, Brent.
Irv, I know you've had some thoughts, some time to sit back and think about Atlanta and New England. What's your feeling about today's Super Bowl?
Well, you know, my son, who follows this stuff pretty close, said, "Dad, Atlanta is going to win this thing." I said, "Why do you think so?" He said, "Well, he's got too much speed, and the receivers are, great. The Patriots can't handle them." But then I thought back. I was on the staff in Philadelphia when Bill Belichick was an assistant of the Giants, and we always had problems with them, and he had problems with us. So one thing they did a lot was that they had a lot of their passing attack looked like the Eagles' passing attack, and the guy they featured things around was Tommy McDonald. Tommy's only about 5'9", and you look at the Patriots receivers right now, like these guys are runts. Well, they're really not. They're pretty quick. They're pretty smart at reading patterns. They change their patterns whenever the defense dictates it, and they wind up being pretty effective. So I looked at that and said, well, if he's got 3 Tommy McDonalds on his field, they're going to be okay. And, of course, in Brady, having been out for 4 games because of suspension, is probably healthier now than he has been a long time. So he's going to be feeling pretty good. Now, I don't want to take anything away from Atlanta. They have a great offense, but they give up yardage on defense, and I think the Patriots will pick them apart. Besides, Belichick's had a couple of weeks to get ready for this thing, and that's plenty of time for him to prepare a game plan.
Hey, Irv, when you were a defensive back, you roughed up those receivers. You didn't let them off the line of scrimmage. I mean, now all the rule changes, they're in favor of the offense. They want high-scoring games, my friend.
Well, yeah, they do. It's frustrating to watch it because the guy comes up, makes a great defensive play, they call pass interference on him. They get 5 yards upfield, you can't touch him anymore. I mean, this is not touch football. It's the NFL, and it's a pretty tough game. So somewhere, like maybe sometime down along the line, they'll change that somewhat. I mean, they want points, they want to draw people. Offense sells tickets, defense championships, all that stuff. But still, if you're a defensive player, you want to have at least an opportunity to have a level field when you go against these guys. And that's the one thing is Julio Jones. I saw him play 2 or 3 times the last year or so. the guy's a beast. I mean, he's big, he's strong. He can overpower you, and if you're a defensive back trying to knock him on his back, chances are you're going to be on the ground yourself. But I don't know. I have to go with New England. Brent, I think it's it's the experience. It's Belichick himself, and again Brady having missed those 4 games because of the suspension. I think he's going to come into this game with a little bit of edge on his shoulder to try to win the championship for him.
Great. So great talking to you, Irv, my friend. I know you're getting ready to write a book. You tell that writer to get a hold of me. I got some Irv Cross anecdotes I want to tell him, okay?
All right, okay, Brent.
Take care.
Take care.
Irv. Great. Guy, it's just so good to review the memories with the old guys. And he was, let me tell you something, he was unbelievable all-around athlete.
I think Jimmy, we should make an honorary Irv Cross proposition for today. Combined tackles and receptions, 15.5. How about that?
Plus, you threw the word old around. Does that mean that's not there?
Hey, I'm the oldest. Hey, now,
listen,
I'm going to change sports briefly because I've thought in Las Vegas, and one of the biggest stories to hit this town is the fact that the National Hockey League is bringing the Vegas Golden Knights in. They're going to start playing next year. And Vinny, how much betting interest is there in Las Vegas right now?
Well, in terms of the Knights, I think that they are in the future book for next year for the forthcoming season. So I think there's going to be a great deal of buzz. I think we'll see certainly folks getting those future tickets on the Knights, and anywhere from 200 to 500 to 1, depending on where they get the ticket. They'll be both for nostalgic purposes as well as, hey, well, listen, you never know, right? If 16 teams get in the playoffs, even though that's a long shot for them. But the fact of the matter is, they will be on the betting board on a daily basis as well. So again, sports wagering becoming more mainstream. There was a time when UNLV and Reno were the only college teams we were not taking action on, and Jimmy remembers those days very well. But in the late 90s, when the National Gambling Impact Study Commission, and Brian Sandoval, our current governor, who was the chairman of the commission at the time, said, you know what, our integrity is our business, put them on the board, and from then on, and here they are, and the Knights will be as well.
Hey, Jimmy, you remember that?
Yes, I sure do. And quickly, Vinny's right on the money with this whole dissertation there. The Knights coming here is very good for a few reasons. The biggest reason is we're starting to knock the wall down on the gambling impact and what it really looks like and how regulated we are. So I welcome them. As far as like a huge spike in betting, there'll be an increase. But remember, the only time there was another huge spike is when Gretzky went to the L.A. team. Particular time, it went from like maybe a 1.5% of our handle, maybe to 2.5%. I'm sure with the Knights now in town, I'm welcome them. I'm glad they're here, and like I said, I want to be here when it's completely done over the entire country. But a great move for us.
And we want to welcome in the owner of the Vegas Golden Knights, Bill Foley. And the expansion draft is coming up for the Golden Knights June 21st, 2017, and Mr. Foley, we welcome you to VSiN, my guys in the desert, and I want to congratulate you on making this a major league city. I think it's going to be really successful. It's such a pleasure to welcome you to the show, Bill.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's great. It's great to be on and talk a little bit about the Golden Knights. We're really proud of what we've accomplished and what we're going to accomplish.
Bill, when visiting teams come in, I've talked to some of the fellows here in particular at the South Point, and I would think that visiting teams would plan several days to come to Las Vegas just to go over to your great new arena over there, watch hockey, stay for a show in Las Vegas. I just think it's terrific for the city to have a National Hockey League franchise here.
Oh, it's going to be terrific. So for the fans, and of course the visiting teams, we really want them to show up about 1 or 2 a.m. the day before the game, and we want to make sure they're well entertained. They have a great time that night that they come in, and then we believe we're going to have a really, really good home record.
Yeah, no, Bill, that's a funny story. We were joking about that, and I said, listen, if I needed a win against the Golden Knights, I would go to the front office, if I was the coach, let's say, and I would say, look, guys, we're flying in the morning of the game. We're playing, and we're leaving right afterwards. I agree with you. This could wind up being a heck of a home ice advantage, my friend.
Yeah, just as soon as we can really get our offense going. It's going to take us a couple years. I mean, we're going to start out with good goaltending and pretty good defense. But in a few years, we really want to encourage all the teams to end their road trip, their 4 or 5 game road trip, right here in Las Vegas, and probably on a Saturday night, early in the morning, and then we'll get them the next day.
And Bill, I assume that you'll be in the Western Conference, right? And what division will they put you in?
Yeah, we're Pacific Division. We'll be playing with the Coyotes, Sharks, Ducks, Kings, Vancouver, Edmonton, and the Flames. So that will be the 8th team in the Pacific Division.
And you'll be able to select one player from each of the other 30 franchises, correct? And of course they have 2 options for how they want to protect the players. Is that how the expansion draft's going to work?
Yeah, exactly. They've got to make available 2 forwards that have played at least. I think it's 40 games each of the last 2 years, or 60 games in the past year, and 1 D in the same category. They can only protect 1 goalie, so obviously we're going to end up with some pretty good goaltending, because the other teams just can't protect enough goalies. And it really just depends on each team in terms of do they go 4-4, 4 Ds and 4 forwards, or do they go 7 and 3? But we'll get some good defensemen. They just can't protect everybody. So we have a pretty good advantage relative to previous expansion drafts. Number one, in the previous drafts, 2 teams came in at once instead of 1, and they also in those days they were protecting, I think it was 5 forwards or 10 forwards and 5 Ds and a goalie. So we're going to get some decent players, and we're going to have a decent expansion or amateur draft, because we'll pick our odds are we'll pick 3rd, so we'll pick no worse than 6th and possibly 1st. So we're excited about it.
It should be. And Bill, as we let you go, who do you like in today's Super Bowl, New England or Atlanta?
I've got to go with Tom Brady. He's just such a great player, and I've always been a Belichick fan and a Robert Kraft fan. I just think they run a quality organization.
They do indeed, Bill, and all of us here at South Point wish you nothing but the best with the Vegas Golden Knights. And time for us to take a break. I'm coming back with my boys in the desert. You're listening live to the Vegas Stats and Information Network.